And we are back. And yet with us another live guest in the studio, Tom Brummett. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning. Glad to be here.
You're a candidate for 140th District Court.
Yes, sir.
How's it going?
It's going well. The first time being a political candidate, so you know there's a high learning curve, but hopefully now we're getting here to the end. It's flattening out. So
Yeah, you're pretty sure you want to do this, huh?
yeah, the MRI came back negative, so there's no other explanation for it. Yeah.
How many people in the race for? Let's see. This is Jim Bob Darnell's.
That's right.
Court,
That's Jim Bob
and
Darnell.
he's retiring.
He's not running again, so be an open bench, and there's 4 candidates running for it, including me.
What's the biggest problems that you're going to face, or the court's going to face? Now, this is a criminal court.
It is. There are 3 district courts of our 6 that handle criminal cases. These are felony criminal cases, so all the way from state jail felony, which is like car theft, low-level narcotics, 3rd, 2nd, 1st degree, all the way up, including capital murder. The court also does a little bit of family law on the side. But that's a very small percentage, and it is basically a criminal court. That's correct.
So what have you been out walking the neighborhoods? And
I have. As I was joking with you earlier before we went on air, we're thinking about petitioning whoever the powers that be, maybe have our primaries in October so we can be out walking around in September. But, yeah, we've been doing it as much as Mother Nature cooperates with us.
Well, I go to church with your dad, Arnold Mincy, and I sure like him. So I probably would like you too.
Well, that's yet to be seen. Hopefully I can convince you.
Yeah.
So, as far as this being a criminal court, kind of walk us through how that works. You know, somebody gets put into jail. I guess you have a prosecutor that is going to take up the case and go against them. It goes to your court. Do you do mostly jury trials, or do you do a lot of judge as well?
Now, are you talking about my experience up to this point, or are you talking about what a judge in that court
what would
do?
happen in this courtroom?
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, it's funny. You know, I talk to people, and half of what I'm doing during campaigning is educating people on what the court does.
Right.
Because a lot of times you talk to people, and they look at you and say, so you wear a robe and you put people in jail?
Right.
And you're like, well, yeah, sometimes, but there's a lot more to it than that. Basically, if somebody has an indictment filed against them, because these are felonies,
right,
so it has to be an indictment.
Right.
They're arraigned. Their case is pending in one of the 3 criminal district courts, and it's assigned by random. There's the 364th, 137th, 140th. So if it lands in that court, then what the judge is responsible for doing is making sure that case reaches a resolution within reasonable limits and the time frames that we like to see it happen in. What the process usually happens is people, where do they get their impression about what happens in courts? Television and movies, right? Same thing with the medical field. And it is not very realistic.
It's boring, right?
Number one,
Let's be honest.
I mean, that's what I tell juries when I pick them is listen, guys, nobody ever stands up in the back and says, you know, he's innocent, I'm having his baby, or anything like that. That's just in the movies. Yeah. What happens is people think that the vast majority of cases are resolved by trials. And that's just simply not true. Trial is the most inefficient way to resolve a case, but it's necessary when no agreement can be had. There's 52 weeks in a year? If a judge had a trial every single week, and they don't, but let's give them the benefit of the doubt. Let's just say 52. Then I can guarantee you we file more than 52 cases in every single one of those courts. The vast majority of criminal cases are handled via negotiation. If the state's attorney, the prosecutor, the defense attorney that's representing the client can come in and work out some sort of agreement, they'll sit down 1, maybe 2 or 3 times.
Because probably the person they know he's guilty.
Well, sometimes you'd have to talk to. There's a difference between, and this is what people don't understand. They don't grasp why O.J. Simpson could be not guilty of homicide, but liable for civil responsibility for the death. I deal with lots of people. I've probably tried 120, 125 jury trials all the way full-blown to a jury. I can guarantee you as a prosecutor, I've dismissed 100 cases for every one of those I've tried. Because sometimes you get the information, they were arrested, the police did their job, but their burden is different than what we have in the courtroom. And you look at it and you say, well, no, I don't think this person did it, or I don't think this crime fits it.
Or I can't prove it.
That's the next thing. Or sometimes you sit there and say, listen, I know this person did it, but the thing is I don't have the evidence that I need to be able to convince that jury to that very high standard. So you sit down with a defense attorney. You work out, you say, I got this, you got this. If we take it to trial, this is what's likely to happen from a judge or jury. Can we reach an agreement? And the vast majority of cases are handled that way.
Right. Because the defendants didn't want to take a chance on the jury.
But the judge still has to sign off on it.
The judge does, and I've been asked that before. They say, well, can a judge refuse to take a plea? They can. In the business, we call it busting a plea. They can do it. Most of your judges are going to be very reluctant to do that.
Again, that happens more often in the TV shows
It
and movies.
does, exactly,
Than it does in real
right,
life,
yeah.
right?
And because of some sort of relationship behind the scenes, no. Judges can do that. They have the authority. But most of our judges are pretty good about saying, listen, I'm an umpire. I call balls and strikes. I'm not here to make a judgment on the case, though that's the party's job and whatever they work out. And so that can happen, but it's extremely infrequent.
All right. So what is it that makes you want to take this job?
Well, just a little bit of background. I was born here in Lubbock. So I'm from here. My heart's here. This is where the people I love live. This is where my community is.
Tech Law School?
No, I went to Texas Tech for undergrad, but I went to Indiana University for law school. And people say, well, why did you do that? Tech has a good law school here. The basic reality of the situation is a top 25 law school says, we'll admit you and we'll pay you a little bit of money to come study here. I'm gone. And so I went up there, met my wife there. Yes, I know what they say about lawyers marrying lawyers, but that's what I did. Met her in law school.
What do they say?
Well, there's a famous movie called Adam's Rib. It's a great movie. It's an older movie. You ought to check it out. There's a character in there called Kip LaRue said, lawyers should never marry other lawyers. This is called inbreeding and only produces idiot children and more lawyers. And so we have one child.
I have a cousin who married a lawyer. Both of them are lawyers.
So I married her and then came back to Lubbock because, like I said, this is where my heart is. Got a job at the DA's office with Bill Souter. He was the DA at the time. Got that job there. The original plan was to do this for 5 years and move on to something else, and that's where my heart was. And so now, 17 years later, I am one of the senior attorneys there at the office. I practice criminal law in every single criminal courtroom in that courthouse, including the 140th. And I feel that experience working on those thousands and thousands of cases that I had up to this point provides me the experience to be able to sit and to take that role from serving the community as I do now as an assistant DA and expand that role and serve the community I love from a bigger role, that of being the judge.
So we've only got about a minute left. Is there something you want the audience to hear specifically from you?
All of the candidates that people have heard say the same thing as far as I'm a conservative, I have West Texas values, I'm a Christian, I'm a father. And those are good things, and they're all genuine when they say that. I personally wouldn't vote for any candidate that didn't say those things. But what I found is that the voters are looking for, okay, that's good. Now tell us how to decide the next level, how to break this tie. And what I would say is my history of service, that I could quit and go into a more lucrative private practice, but I don't, because that's not where my heart is. That's not what I want to do for the people, that I've continued to work in that capacity of serving the community and will continue to if they trust me and give me the honor of their vote.
All right. Tom Brummett, candidate for 140th District Court.
I appreciate it. Thank you, gentlemen.
Glad to have you. Good luck.